Russian general heading the country's nuclear, biological, chemical defense forces and his assistant were killed in a bomb blast. Russia's Federal Investigating Agency said the high-ranking general was killed when a device hidden in a scooter exploded as he was leaving a residential block. The device was detonated remotely as per the officials. Now, visuals from the ground showed a shattered entrance to a building littered with rubble and two bodies lying in the blood-stained snow. A criminal case has been filed after this particular blast episode. The top-rank officer, Igor Kirillov, was killed just a day after Ukraine accused him of using chemical weapons against Ukrainian troops. An SBU source has now confirmed that Ukrainian intelligence agency had been behind this particular hit. The agency said that the security service of Ukraine killed Russian General Igor Kirillov in a special operation in Moscow. Now, everybody's reacted to it, but it's going to be important to take a look at how Kremlin has reacted to it. Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, said that the Ukrainian leadership would face imminent revenge for this hit. A witness, however, said that there was no security at the residential block where this blast was occurred. Take a look at what the witness had to say.
I only knew him from the media. I had no idea where he lived in our block. I saw him on the TV only. We knew his car though because we saw it. They used the electric scooter and there's a scooter parking there near the entrance. So who knew? At the moment you see a lot of police, but usually everything is open. Anybody can go in and out.
Well, even the local resident over there said, I did not know who the man was. I just saw them on the media. Let's talk about Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov a little bit, who was the chief of Russia's Radiation, Chemical and Biological Protection Troops and a senior member of the Kremlin. He led specialized troops responsible for handling radioactive, chemical and biological contamination scenarios. And he was accused of using barbaric chemical weapons in Ukraine, including toxic choking agents like chloropicrin. At this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, to speak more on this, I've got Major General Sanjay Mestan, defense and strategic expert. General, a very warm welcome to you. Always a pleasure to have you with us, especially when we're talking about Ukraine and Russia, given the fact that Donald Trump is soon going to be assuming his responsibilities in the Oval Office. And these last-ditch efforts that we've been seeing by Russia and Ukraine both, it's all because, well, Donald Trump is going to be dancing his way to the Oval Office. First and foremost, you've been reading the media reports today as well, a remotely detonated scooter, lack of security. But let's talk about the man himself. How big of a blow is this to Russia? Is this an embarrassing situation given Ukrainian forces have now claimed responsibility carrying out this attack in Moscow?
Yeah, definitely, Kabir. It's a big blow to Russia. And firstly, regarding the General Igor Kirillov, see, he was heading the radiation, chemical and biological aspects, especially the protection units. So he had a major role, and he is a senior most general till date after the Russia-Ukraine conflict who has been assassinated. And as on date, I think Ukraine has carried out a total of about 5 assassinations. You are aware that in November, one of the admirals who was heading a fleet in Crimea, he was killed. Thereafter, in Moscow itself, there have been 2 blasts. One was in the cafe, and one that girl was killed, who was the son of a die-hard, nationalist there. So many, and of course, one very senior officer was killed. So 5, 6 assassinations have taken place in Moscow and also in other parts of Russia and Crimea. So what this shows is that importance of this man. Yes, he is the senior most, and he has been alleged using chemical weapons in this war. And the Ukrainians have stated that about 4,300 times he has used some of the chemical weapons, which have got long-term implications. Short-term implication is presumably one of the grenades was K1 combat grenades. Now, this grenade, if you lob it in a trench, see, in a trench for an infantry soldier, it gives a lot of protection. But once this kind of a grenade is lobbed, it has these chemicals which are coming out, and these have an impact on the person, so they have a tendency to come out because they want to breathe fresh air. And that is the time the snipers, the Russian snipers or the drones would kill these Ukrainian soldiers.
Like so a real vital general for the Russian forces, isn't it? I mean, General, I'm putting this question to you. General Kirillov seemed to be a real vital resource for the Russian forces. I'm going to take this question ahead, but General Mestan, do stay on with us. Let's take a look at this report that's been filed by Reuters in terms of where this bomb was planted, what happened before it, why wasn't security beefed up? Take a look.
Ukraine assassinated a top Russian general it accused of chemical weapons crimes in Moscow on Tuesday morning. A source from Ukraine's SBU has confirmed the intelligence service was responsible. It marks the most high-profile killing of its kind. Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, who was chief of Russia's nuclear, biological and chemical protection troops, was killed outside an apartment building when a bomb hidden in an electric scooter went off. That's according to Russia's investigative committee, which investigates serious crimes, adding that his assistant also died in the blast. A local resident was near the explosion.
At first we thought that cement might have been unloaded or something similar, but the blast was so loud that it did not seem like construction works. It was very scary.
Kirillov is the most senior Russian military officer to be assassinated inside Russia by Ukraine. Russia's state RIA news agency cited former President Dmitry Medvedev, saying Ukraine now faces imminent revenge. Investigators said they had opened a criminal case into the murder of 2 servicemen. Law enforcement sources told Russian media a terrorism case was likely to be opened.
Well, to the viewers and General Mestan as well, do pay heed. We've got President-elect Donald Trump, who suggested that he may reverse Joe Biden's recent decision to allow Ukrainian forces to use the American long-range weapons, the Attacker missiles, into Russia. Trump called the decision by Biden, quote-unquote, stupid, and is even considering reversing the decision. We'll let that code graphic play out for all the viewers as well. But General Mestan, you know, taking a look at the chemical warfare, taking a look at how long this war has panned out, there was no security at this particular residential site where this top-ranking, so-called top-ranking official was inside. Why was there no security given the rank of the officer? And now that Dmitry Medvedev has said that there's going to be hefty retaliation, what do you think is coming Ukraine's way next?
Yeah, firstly, coming on to the security, see, firstly, it is in Moscow. It's about 7 kilometers away from southeast of Kremlin. So what it proves is, you know, that many senior officers who are based in Moscow. Now, every officer definitely cannot be given security. Yes, he was heading this radiological and chemical and biological protection troops. So his portfolio was very, very important. And the fact of the matter is that he was staying in a residential apartment, and even people were not aware who this gentleman was. So perhaps that was also one of the inherent securities that no one was aware that this top general was staying. But what it shows is that his importance was there. Security, of course, cannot be catered to, but yes, now I think President Putin will have to identify these so-called targets, strategic targets, and I think security will be given. But now coming on to what Russia can do, I think Russia will do is one thing is very clear, the intensity of operations in terms of missiles and aircrafts, that will continue. Number of drones launched will be increased, but I don't see much increase. Except that, yes, they can also now try to resort to some kind of political assassination. President Zelensky may not be on the target because 5 to 6 successful assassinations in Russia by the SBU group has been quite creditable. And this is also sending a message to the Russian president that his vulnerability of his top people in command control structure remains. So that is also sending a strong message. On the battlefield, Ukrainians do not have the resources to combat and stop them, especially in Donetsk region. So therefore, this is an easy option to start targeting the strategic targets in the heart of Russia. And the advantage is that they have a special Alpha group, special forces, which is allotted to this SBU group. So I'm quite sure some of the elements have gone. They have deeply penetrated. Their surveillance and penetration has been very good. The fact that they were aware about the routine, the timing, and at particular time when he was coming out to place this electric scooter is, I think, quite creditable. So it is definitely a matter of concern for President Putin. Accountability may not be there because, you know, there's no democracy there. So this may not be discussed. But yes, it's a strong message for protection for the top strategic assets of Russia. Now, they will definitely retaliate by intensities, I think, only through the missiles, rockets, and drones and air warfare. Beyond that, I think some kind of a political assassination also may be planned to send a message to Ukraine that it's not only in terms of missiles, etc. We can also do some kind of assassination. But to a lot of extent, Russia has been surprised. This has happened. The Kursk is itself, infiltration by the Ukrainians in Kursk. So that means it is emboldening Ukraine to take some bold steps. So this, I would say, is a very, very bold step to go and hit the topmost, one of the topmost generals in Moscow is, I think, quite creditable. So, and this is again happening because he was accused of using chemical weapons against the troops. So they considered it as a legitimate strategic target, and that is what they have achieved. And I think both the sides are now trying to pressurize each other because each side knows that the war is going to end shortly. President Trump has clearly stated. So therefore, everyone is now going to pressurize each side. The biggest pressure on Ukraine today is the loss of territory, which each day the Russians are making inroads into their territorial gains. But however, the Kursk remains an issue, and of course, the targeting of these strategic assets, top generals, and maybe top politicians.
Pertinent points, General, that you've raised over here. Not just a target on Zelensky himself, but now Putin's got his own job to carry out and make this list of all the important people that could be potential targets as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see that given Ukrainian retaliation, what kind of a conflict escalation are we looking at and how will Russia now finally respond to it? Major General Sanjay Mestan, defense and strategic expert, always a pleasure to have you with us. Many thanks for joining with us and helping us out with your insightful inputs.